Hello everyone, my name is Pixelriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. Today we're going to go exploring. And last episode was all about maps and how to use them, but we're going to go off the edge of the map today because there was some stuff that we've encountered in previous episodes that I was interested in exploring. Before we do that, we are going to briefly craft one thing for which I will need a couple of copper ingots, which I've been storing in the basement for this very occasion. We're going to place 2 copper ingots in our crafting interface with 1 amethyst shard at the top, and that will get us a spyglass. Spyglasses, as the name suggests, kind of act like a telescope of sorts. They can allow you to see things from far away if you zoom in on them using a right click. And this is going to be an essential tool for exploration because it will allow us to look at things at a distance without having to worry about getting too close, which is especially useful if you encounter structures that you might be a little bit concerned about. You don't want to get too close in case you aggro any enemies. We're also going to use it to observe things from a distance if we encounter some interesting landmarks, and it also makes for really nice screenshots when stuff in the distance looks appropriately atmospheric. Now, the first stop on our exploration tour is swimming into view right now, and as I step out of this boat, we'll be able to see it a little clearer. I wanted to visit the jungle biome that we saw over here beyond the dark oak forest, because people spotted this a few episodes ago. We can see some jungle treetops over there. We can see some canes of bamboo rising from the jungle over there as well. I think the jungle is going to be a perfect next stop in this world because there are going to be some interesting resources here, not the least of which is going to be some jungle wood. It'll be our first time gathering jungle wood in this world. The bamboo is probably going to come in useful as well, and it looks like there is quite a lot of it available, so it won't be a problem if we gather a little bit of that today. We also get to talk about one of the fundamentals of exploring Minecraft, which is that Minecraft likes to stitch together biomes depending on temperature. So right now we've just gone through a dark oak forest, which is a fairly mild biome in terms of temperature, and then we step out into a jungle biome where things are a little bit warmer. And that's not going to affect the player in any way. It's much more about how the environment of Minecraft is put together and what other biomes you can expect to find. Stepping into the bamboo forest, we're already catching sight of some things we haven't seen before, like a parrot that's now staring at us through the branches. Parrots can be fed seeds in order to get them to like you, so if you wanted to, you could punch a few bits of grass around here, a few of the ferns in the area, and see if we grab some wheat seeds. Feeding them wheat seeds multiple times will eventually create heart particles above them, and we get an advancement for taming our first animal. And weird that that's a parrot, but there we go. Once you've tamed an animal like a parrot, a cat, or a dog, you should be able to right-click them to get them to stay where they are. And when they're in this seated position, they won't follow you around. But once you right-click on them again to have them stand up, if we step a little bit further away, this parrot will try and fly towards us. If he flies straight towards us and seems to disappear, going into third person will reveal that that parrot is now sat on my shoulder, and he'll stay there if I jump around, although if I jump down a block, the parrot will drop off and will just come to stand on the ground like so. So sometimes he'll fly back up into the air, look for a place to perch, and sometimes he'll just teleport straight back to me, because if you get further away from a pet like this, a lot of the time they will find themselves teleporting directly to you like that parrot just did. I'm going to put the parrot down for a second though, because one of the advancements we can get in the game is for looking at a parrot with a spyglass. However briefly we just managed to do it, we get the advancement, is it a bird? Anyway, I'm going to have the parrot sit here for now while we explore the rest of the jungle. Don't want him getting into harm's way, and we can take him back to the house at the end of the episode. And with that taken care of, we can explore the rest of the biome around us. First of all, we have bamboo canes growing everywhere. We can take these down with the single swing of a sword, and the entire plant will break, allowing us to collect individual bamboo items. These bamboo items can be replanted on dirt-type blocks. You can probably grow them on things like moss as well if you want to, but they will gradually grow over time. Kind of like the way sugarcane does, you can bone meal them if you want to grow them a little bit faster, and they will grow to pretty enormous heights, allowing you to regenerate a bamboo grove pretty much anywhere once you've got 1 or 2. We've also got some melons here, which I'm going to break using my axe. Breaking those down will get you melon slices, which you can eat as a snack, although they're not as good as the steak we have on us. You can break them down into individual melon seeds, or if we whip up a quick crafting table here, you can put 9 melon slices together to reproduce a full melon block. And the individual melons will only drop a few melon slices, so you're not going to be able to craft an entire melon from the slices you pick up by destroying one, but it is at least worth knowing about. Now, it looks like the sky is beginning to darken, the sun is going to set relatively soon, and so I'm going to quickly find some sheep from around here. We don't have any shears on us, unfortunately, so we're just going to kill 3 sheep, craft ourselves a bed, and that way we can kind of use it like a sleeping bag of sorts while we're out here. If it gets dark and we need to sleep to avoid fighting mobs, then we might as well have a bed on us at all times. One thing we need to remember right now is that wherever we right-click a bed in the wild, it's going to set our spawn point there, and if we end up breaking that bed, that resets our spawn point to the world spawn point. So it's a good thing we built that house close to the spawn point, because if we ended up dying out here, then we'd end up respawning at the world spawn, the initial spawn point that we found when we logged into the world for the first time. But with that taken care of, let's explore the jungle. And one thing I noticed was that over here we have a ruined nether portal, which has set fire to a good amount of the landscape, and it looks like some of the trees here, because it is right next to a giant surface-level lava lake. We'll cover nether portals in more detail in future episodes, but it's quite a nice coincidence that this portal has spawned right next to this lava lake, because we would need some obsidian blocks if we wanted to complete the frame here, and of course, the lava lake here could be turned into obsidian if we just pour water all over it. So I'm not going to do that with the entire lava lake, but it is quite handy to have right here. One thing to note if you encounter ruined nether portals in the wild is that the magma blocks here are dangerous to walk on unless you are sneaking at the time or have an enchantment called Frost Walker on your boots. So worth knowing, don't step on the magma blocks, obviously don't step in the fire. In fact, you can punch the fire to put it out if you want to. And these nether portals often have some goodies nearby. First of all, we've got some gold blocks in the portal frame, which we could always bring with us. And right here in this chest, we have a bunch of things, including iron supplies that we could group together by double-clicking, just to see if we've got enough to make a flint and steel to light this portal. There's also some gold armor with various enchantments here, a Fortune 3 golden axe, and a clock in there as well. So there are some gold items in here which hints at something that we can do in the nether a little bit later on. I'm going to leave most of this stuff behind. I'm going to take the Fortune 3 axe though, because that actually comes at quite a fortuitous time if we want to gather materials from this jungle, because we need to get some jungle tree saplings if we want to be able to grow jungle trees back at our house. So after that brief distraction of the nether portal, let's get back into the jungle itself. You'll notice that there are some regular animals around. You can see some cows and some chickens here in the jungle, and for the most part, where there are clearer areas of the jungle floor, regular animals will still be able to spawn here. There are a couple of unique animals to jungle biomes, like the parrot that we just saw. There might occasionally be pandas in the bamboo groves, so we might encounter 1 or 2 of those. And occasionally you'll see ocelots darting around the jungle floor. And here's one right now, actually, not an ocelot, this is a panda. The pandas are pretty adorable creatures, although this one seems to be trying to get through this bamboo grove right about now. There we go. The pandas will actually eat bamboo if it drops on the ground near them, or you can right-click on them to feed them some, and they are pretty harmless for the most part. In fact, I'm fairly certain they are passive, except for one variant of the panda that looks a little bit angrier and will attack you if you attack it or any of the other pandas around it. But this one is a pretty basic-looking panda. It's just going to be an adorable little critter walking around inside the bamboo grove. And if we wanted a few more of them to spawn when we came back here, we should probably clear out a little bit more of the bamboo area, because where there are large amounts of bamboo growing, pandas won't spawn here because there isn't enough room for them to spawn. Basically, the bamboo takes up too much of the forest floor, and pandas need a space about the size of the panda itself in order to generate. Otherwise, they'd get stuck in the bamboo or the trees or whatever around them. The jungle trees are really what we're here for, though, and you'll find that there are a mixture of taller oak trees and jungle trees in any given jungle. I think we'll take this one here as a good example, because this looks like it has some vines on it that we can climb, and I kind of wish that I'd brought some iron with me for shears, or a set of shears I'd already crafted, because we could gather some of these vines to take back with us. The nether portal looked like it didn't have enough iron to craft 2 iron ingots, but we can climb the vines up the side of the tree here to get to the canopy, and here we're going to start taking down some of the logs of the tree with our axe. Now, because jungle trees naturally generate with such a large amount of leaves on the top, these are the only trees in the game which will drop fewer saplings from their leaves. The sapling drop rate from jungle trees is about half what it is for any of the other trees. And so I'm going to use this fortune axe, this fortune gold axe that we got here, just to take down a few of these leaves and hope that we get a few more sapling drops from the leaves. Because one of the things fortune can do is increase the chances of getting saplings from leaves. There we go, we just got one jungle sapling there. Is increase the chances of getting saplings from leaves. But you'll notice that the durability of this gold tool wears out very quickly until eventually it breaks. They're actually the worst tools in the game in terms of their overall durability, although they do end up with some quite nice enchantments on them if you enchant them in an enchanting table. Just don't expect them to last very long. If we break the remainder of the logs here, the leaves of this tree will start to decay as normal, and hopefully from that we'll be able to pick up a few more saplings that we can use to regrow the jungle trees back at our base. Jungle trees will often have these branches that grow outwards to one side, and all we need to do is take out the wood inside of that for the leaves there to decay as well, and hopefully we'll come away with a few saplings. We don't just have to use the fortune axe though, our fortune pickaxe could also break some of these leaves for an additional chance at dropping saplings, and if we wanted to a little bit later on, we could enchant a hoe with fortune, since a hoe is the preferred tool aside from shears for breaking leaves quickly. Now, since these jungle trees generate in a 2x2 formation a lot of the time, we're going to get a whole bunch of jungle wood from this, but thankfully it looks like a few saplings have dropped on the forest floor around us, and we have at least 4 saplings to our name now. That's great. We should be able to take down the rest of this tree, and we'll bring the saplings back to our base to regrow them there. I've just come out onto a river in the middle of this jungle, and I've got to say the landscape around here is absolutely fascinating. I'm going to hop back onto my boat and row around for a little bit, and we can already see another panda in the distance, although it seems like that one might be rolled onto its back. Some of the pandas get a little bit playful and they like to just wave their feet in the air occasionally. But look at this. All of the jungle hills around this area look absolutely stunning, and while these aren't strictly speaking mountains, we can see that the new terrain in Minecraft 1.18 allows for these rolling jungle hills to generate pretty much anywhere, which is always really exciting to see. We've also found an example here of where the bamboo jungle has given way to just a regular dense jungle. Now, these jungles have the 1 block wide variants of the jungle trees. Instead of just growing in a 2x2 like dark oak trees do, you can grow single jungle saplings into smaller trees, which will still give a decent amount of leaves and will only cost you 1 sapling instead of 4 if you want to regrow them yourself. And further in here, we're also finding some cocoa beans growing on the side of the jungle wood. We're going to grab some of these because we can replant those on any tree we grab, and they're useful for making brown dye. This tree right here has some really good examples, actually, of the 3 stages. You've got a single cocoa bean there, you've got the stage 2 cocoa pod, and the big cocoa pod on the side is ready to harvest for 3 cocoa beans. So we're going to take a few of those home, and with the jungle wood we've harvested, we should be able to start farming cocoa beans if we want to reproduce them. Now, this dense forest floor foliage is all made up of oak leaves with jungle logs at their center, so we could always break those down if we wanted a little bit of extra wood. And as we go through the jungle, we might find it a little bit tricky to navigate with all this foliage on the forest floor, and you've got to be careful of pitfalls like this that could be concealed by the leaves. You don't want to take too much fall damage running into a quarry of some kind that's naturally generated in the world here. And it looks like we've reached the far edge of the jungle on this side, where it smoothly transitions back into an oak and birch forest. Well, that was a nice trip through the jungle. I think we've got a really cool jungle generation here, and I'm very happy that we were able to find jungle wood so close to home in this world. So going back to what I was saying before about adjacent biomes being of similar temperatures, if you explore the boundaries of a jungle, it is more likely that you'll be able to encounter other biomes of a warmer temperature. So if you think about things like deserts and savanna biomes, a lot of those will generate around the edges of warm biomes like jungles, and you'll find that they end up connecting together in a way that becomes a little bit more predictable if you're looking for a certain type of resources. And so I'm going to travel around the edges of the jungle biome just to see if it merges into any of the other biomes that we're looking out for while we travel here. And it looks like on this side that has proven true, because over here in the distance we're looking at a savanna biome. I'm very happy we've encountered a savanna, because that's another type of wood that we can knock off our list. If we make land over here and we go and take a look at the savanna over in this direction, we can see acacia trees start to generate. The wide, flat plains of a savanna are much like the plains that you will find elsewhere, but they have sparse generation of these acacia trees, and the grass color is a little bit drier. You might also occasionally find savanna villages generating in these landscapes, but for the most part, you don't need to come to savannas for too much stuff unless you really want to build here, or you need this wood type. Acacia wood is a very bright orange color. Contrast this with the slightly more brownish pink color that you get from jungle logs, and there's a really high contrast. The bark on the outside is gray, which makes it very nice as a neutral wood type when building with a grayish color palette. And once again, the saplings will drop from these trees, so we should be able to take a few of these home and start to farm them back at our base if we want to. I'm going to take down a couple of the acacia trees just so the saplings will start to drop from the decaying leaves, and we can take a look around at the landscape, which once again looks like a nice flat plains connected by rivers with a couple of hills here and there, and the jungle biome continues off into the distance that way, adjoining a hill over there. A couple of saplings just fell from the leaves of this acacia tree, and we could collect a few more of these if we wanted to, but a couple of saplings should do just fine, and we can make our way back down the river towards our base. One last note about jungle biomes while we're here, though, because I just spotted this on the other bank from the savannah. There is a biome called sparse jungle, which used to be called jungle edge biome, and was quite rare in older versions of Minecraft, but in 1.18 you will see this generating quite a lot as a transitional biome. It still has the bright green grass and occasional jungle trees from the jungle biome, but it will have much fewer of the super tall trees, and it will be a lot more spread out. You'll get melons generating here occasionally and the same amounts of animals that you usually get, but you won't see as many of the dense trees that you find in the thicker jungle biomes. And since these biomes used to be quite rare, I think people will have a great time finding these and building in them now that they are a little bit more common as a transitional biome out into the oak forests and the other surrounding environments. Having explored this jungle biome pretty thoroughly, though, I think it's time to return to our pet parrot, who we left waiting patiently for us on the edge of that dark oak forest. We'll head home and we'll talk a little bit about how we can use the resources from the jungle back at our base. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this looks like the parrot we left over here. Yep, that's the one. Alright, buddy, it's time to follow me, and if we can get this parrot down to the shore of this river, we should hopefully be able to row him home. With our spyglass in hand and a parrot on our shoulder, it feels good to be a pirate in Minecraft sometimes. Let's get out of the boat and... Oh gosh, we hit the parrot. Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. We ended up breaking the boat and I was just spamming it with my axe. I accidentally hit the parrot. Well, thankfully it was just a tap, but I'm going to have to feed you some more seeds and hopefully your health will regenerate a little bit. Let's run to the house, though. Every time I jump down a block, the parrot is going to leave my shoulder, so I'm just going to sprint up to the house. The parrot's going to teleport to me, and hopefully once we reach the steps of the house, it'll teleport into the nearby vicinity or fly up to me like so. And I think we could probably perch it somewhere outside of the house, maybe on the edge of the roof. That seems like a good place for it. Yeah, let's say we leave the parrot up here on the edge of our moss roof. It blends in quite nicely, but it's kind of a cute thing to have a bird hanging out on the roof of your house. And there are other varieties of parrots. There are some blue ones and red ones and different varieties, which I think actually correspond to varieties of parrot in the real world. One other thing to note about parrots is that they will imitate the sounds of other mobs nearby. So occasionally your parrot might start making imitation noises of creepers or zombies if they have been in the vicinity, and that can honestly be a double-edged sword. I think often parrots troll you a little bit, because while the parrot is a good reminder to make sure that you watch your back in case creepers or zombies sneak up on you, it can sometimes just jump scare you occasionally, and that's not always everyone's favorite thing. So you may want to think twice before bringing a parrot to your home, but we've got one now, and I feel like it can be safely at home here on the roof. Now, in terms of the saplings that we have brought home with us, we should be able to start farming jungle wood now. All we'll need to do is plant one sapling. We can grow it artificially using bone meal if we want to. Make sure it's got a bit of space around it so it can grow with all the leaves around it. And from there, we could start taking down the leaves to get a few more jungle saplings. We can bone meal it to grow it, and there we go. We get a nice little jungle tree. You'll notice that the leaf color is not quite as green as it was in the jungle biome. It's it's a little bit less saturated because leaves like this will adapt to the biome that they are grown in. They'll adapt to their surroundings, and the same is true if you break the leaves using shears and collect the leaf blocks and then you take them down to put elsewhere. They will adapt to their biome surroundings. There are a few leaves that don't do that though, namely birch, spruce, and azalea. So we're actually using azalea leaves around here, and they'll keep the same color regardless of what biome they are placed in. Now it looks like this tree's leaves are decaying and already dropping some more jungle saplings, which is perfect. We might speed that along a little bit by using our fortune pickaxe on some of these leaves, hoping that a few of the saplings are going to drop. But much like getting extra diamonds from diamond ore, it's not a guaranteed thing, so we're probably not going to fortune every single type of leaves because that seems like a bit of a waste of the durability on our diamond pickaxe. We did get 2 more saplings though, so we can be justified in placing 4 saplings in a 2x2 square like this, circle, square, whatever you want to call it, and we'll bone meal that to grow it when it's morning time. But I need to go and set my spawn back in this house, so what better time to do it than when we can sleep the night away. Alright, morning's here. Let's grow ourselves a 2x2 jungle tree with a few bone meal on one of these saplings. There we go, and an entire jungle tree grows right before our eyes, with a couple of branches too, and a lot of leaf coverage, so that's hopefully going to mean we get 4 jungle saplings back out of this one, and we can start growing them perpetually. Now I'm going to grab the shears from this, and we're going to harvest some of the vines that are growing on here, because while the vines will grow down naturally, we're probably going to be taking down this tree pretty quickly, and so we're going to gather a few vines from the trunk of this tree, and I think we'll just gather a bunch of these, and then because it looks pretty out of place here in the birch forest, I'm going to take the tree down using a kind of spiral pattern to create a staircase up the tree, and that way we can take down the tree as we climb it. Then once we reach the top, we'll just reverse direction, come back down, taking out all the rest of the logs as we go. We can also get a few more vines as we climb up the branches if we want to, because we'll be able to shear those as we go. Although if vines are hanging down like this and you want to collect the vines, it's important to shear them from the bottom upwards, because if you shear one of the higher up blocks in the vine, you'll only get 1 vine drop and the rest of them will break. So important to shear from the bottom upwards if you want to collect all the vines that are dangling down from the side of a plant. Now when it comes to crafting and crafting recipes, jungle wood doesn't have any inherently different properties than any of the other wood types that we have found and discussed so far. You can break it down into planks. Those planks will make sticks, they'll make a crafting table, they will make basically anything else you want to build with them. So one of the main reasons you might be interested in jungle wood is the color of the wood itself. That kind of warmer pinkish color might be the kind of thing that you want to build with, and it will pair very well with other materials that have a warmer color to them. Things like terracotta and red brick can benefit from having jungle wood around since they are aesthetically quite similar. But the jungle logs have a very specific property that we're going to take advantage of, and that is the fact that we can grow cocoa beans on them. You cannot grow cocoa beans on any other type of wood, including birch wood like we've got around here, or the acacia wood that we harvested previously. If I place a few of those on here, you cannot grow the cocoa beans on these logs. No matter how much I'm right-clicking on them, you simply can't plant them there. So if we want to harvest more cocoa beans to get a little bit more access to the brown dye that they will craft down into, we're going to need to grow them on jungle wood logs. Already the leaves of this canopy are decaying, and we have a bunch more saplings than we started out with. We've got 10 jungle saplings now, so that's a pretty decent confirmation of the fact that if we keep growing these 2x2 trees, we should hopefully break even or get a few more saplings. And as the last few logs and saplings descend from the canopy, it's looking pretty good for us. So we can add the jungle saplings to our collection of saplings here in the organics chest. I'm going to leave the vines in there as well. We even got a block of jungle leaves that I sheared off earlier, so we'll put them in there too, and we'll add the acacia saplings because we know that we can regrow those anytime we want to. Coming over to the wood chest, we can put some of the jungle logs in here. Now we have a nice, hefty supply of those. We can always use those as a utility wood to craft anything else that we want because we've got so much of it. And even though it's now raining, that's not going to stop me from coming out here and planting a few more of these bamboo as well, because if we place the bamboo shoots on the ground here, they'll start to grow, we can harvest them again, and we get a bit of a return on our investment. Each one of these is going to grow into a stalk of bamboo that can potentially be, I think, up up to like 15 blocks high. They get pretty tall, so nice and easy to harvest more bamboo if we want it. Bamboo can be used as furnace fuel, although it's not very efficient. You will need 4 pieces of bamboo to smelt 1 item, and you can see it goes through it pretty fast. If you need to for whatever reason, bamboo can be crafted into sticks by placing 2 vertically in a 2x2 crafting interface. You'll get a couple of sticks out of that. But most importantly, if we combine the bamboo with some spider string, we can create scaffolding with 6 bamboo around the sides like that and 1 string on the top. Scaffolding has some really useful properties when it comes to building stuff, so we can talk about that a little bit later. We'll have probably an entire episode dedicated to building stuff with scaffolding because it can be very useful, but the controls vary between Bedrock and Java editions, so it's kind of important to know how to control it on Java if you're used to it the other way around. But honestly, scaffolding is going to be enormously important to building in future, so that's why I'm quite happy that we found some bamboo, because we'll be able to craft as much scaffolding as we want. Now we're regrowing that here at the base. I'm going to break these bones down into a little bit more bone meal just to demonstrate that we can also bone meal the bamboo if we want that to grow a little faster, and that's going to grow a couple of stages each time. We can swipe that down using our sword, and if we leave 1 piece of the bamboo in the ground, then that's going to regrow from the stump of the old bamboo cane, allowing it to regrow as much as it wants to. Let's very briefly talk about melons as well, because if we craft ourselves an iron hoe, we can start a little melon patch down here next to our cocoa bean farm. We'll place a water source here for hydration, and we'll till some of the blocks around it so that they turn into farmland. Then, if we craft a few melon seeds out of these melon slices, we can plant those in the ground, and once they hydrate, they will start to grow up naturally into melon stalks. We can accelerate this process as with other crops using bone meal, and once the melon stalk turns yellow like this, you won't be able to bone meal it anymore. That guarantees that it's at the tallest it can be, and that will start growing melons. Now, melons and pumpkins operate in exactly this way. Once the stalk is fully grown, every so often it will just produce a melon on a grass or dirt block around the outside. I think farmland can also count, but it's important to make sure that the melon has an organic block on one of these 4 sides to grow on. As you can see right there, that melon grew directly onto this grass block, so did that one. Okay, so they're growing very fast. That's very, very nice, actually. Once these appear, we can, of course, break them so that the stalk is free to generate a new melon, and that got us a bunch more melon slices. So in that way, melons are eminently renewable. But it's important not to place any other kind of block in these areas around it, or even replace the block that the melon will grow onto with any other kind of material, because that will block the melon from growing. It's important to keep dirt or grass around it and make sure there is a space next to the melon stalk for each melon to grow. For that reason, you might not want to put them this close together, because if a melon grows here, then it might block one of the chances that this stalk has to grow melons, and if you want optimal efficiency out of these things, then you might want to consider the placement of your melons, but that's entirely fine for right now, and we could always expand this outwards with a few more spots to grow melons. Just grab a couple more melon seeds, replant those, and anything within a 4-block radius of this water source will be hydrated, so we could even go out this far and still have hydration for a melon patch if we wanted it in a line. We did get some more melon seeds from the abandoned mineshaft we explored in a previous episode, so I might actually expand this farm outwards a little bit more and grow a few more melon stalks on those patches, and we might even get some pumpkins into the mix here as well. I think we gathered a few pumpkins from this patch over here near our spawn point, but I'll get a few more just for the sake of it. You can get pumpkin seeds in a number of ways. 1 pumpkin will break down into 4 seeds, giving you easy access to those. We can also shear any of the pumpkins around here to produce a jack-o'-lantern face on it, and if we take that pumpkin now, the carved pumpkin, and turn it into a jack-o'-lantern by crafting it together with a torch, that becomes a pretty useful light source. But it also gives you 4 seeds every time you do that. A carved pumpkin won't give you any more seeds beyond that, but the regular pumpkins can still be broken down into 4 seeds each time. As we come back, we can find this melon here has grown, although the other stalk on this side doesn't connect to it, so that still has the potential to produce a melon on one of these other 3 spaces around it, but it's usually a good idea to harvest the melons as you get them. And if we wanted to out on this side, we could plant a few pumpkin seeds here as well and grow those using bone meal to show that they are basically the same design of stalk, but these stalks will produce pumpkins. Like that one just did, really fast, actually. Now I'm just making silly patterns patterns here. This isn't the most effective way to set up a pumpkin and melon farm, but honestly, as long as they're growing frequently and you're harvesting them frequently, there is no wrong answer to this. There's definitely a couple of things you can do to make this a little bit better, but honestly, right now, I'm just happy growing pumpkins and melons in my backyard, and the cocoa bean harvest is also looking really good. So let's harvest a few more of those, and we should now have enough cocoa beans to coat this entire 3x1 of jungle wood in cocoa beans that will regrow. And I actually can't believe I've forgotten to mention this until now, but one of the other uses of cocoa beans is to make chocolate chip cookies. If you combine some wheat together with some cocoa beans in a crafting table, 2 wheat and 1 portion of cocoa beans will get you 8 cookies. And these are kind of a snack food like the melon slices. They won't refill your hunger or saturation in such a big way, the way steak does, for example, but it's always worth having them around if you want to celebrate with some cookies. And that is where we're going to leave it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed touring the jungle with me, and hopefully you'll have fun farming some of these resources in your own worlds. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode for me if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.